Okay, that was weird. Hello, brothers and sisters of YouTube. My name is Joker Fanatic Hughes, and today I would like to explain to you the thing that apparently nobody understands, or how Palpatine survived. First things first. The him that was on the Death Star that down the reactor shaft is dead. Dead. That body is dead. Dead. Deader than dead. Dead. Notice how I say the body is dead. Why does everybody be like, how did he survive if he went down a reactor shaft and the whole thing exploded? He didn't. He dead. Dead. His soul survived. His body dead. I don't care what you say. Dead. Now, I'm going to be explaining this from Legends, the Star Wars Book of Sith, which, back when the original movies came out and all that, back before Disney owned it all, explains the base principle of it all. It is the collection of every different thing that the Emperor collected. Every bit of knowledge that he collected in his personal plans. And to those of you who are going to say, for one, it's Legends, that's when I say, hello, this is J.J. Abrams, the man who brought all of your fan theories to life. You really don't think he's going to follow the fan canon? Seriously? He already confirmed Revan as being a real thing. This is from Revan's time. And, if you actually read the book, the basis of preserving life and bringing yourself back from the dead and yada was in a holocron made by Revan. Revan has been confirmed in the Disney canon. Hello? Anybody gonna make the connection? I'm sorry. I don't see why people are having so much of a problem with this when he hinted at it so strongly in the movies. Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, he talks about a way to cheat death. When he says that, I never believed that he was like, oh, I can make my body live forever. No, I've always believed that he can clone himself, or make a new him, or put his life force into somebody else. Sticking to the view of the body must be preserved? No, never believed that. And that's restricting your views, really. And even in Legends, he does indeed come back from being a clone. It was already established through Revenge of the Sith that this was his plan. And this book literally outright states it multiple times. Literally. Like, in this book, he drops more hints than you could ever imagine. Read a book. And if you're one of those people who says, you don't need to read a book to make everything here make sense, that's when I say, okay, so the Aftermath books, or the Aftermath book, and the different books that came in between the series that explain to you what happens in between the Disney movies. You're saying you don't need to read those, and yet you question things that happen in them? And Disney full-on tells you, hey, read this? You do need the books! It's part of the story! True, you don't need the books to understand everything. Like, what I mean is, a casual goer who would watch the movies can piece it together fairly well. But if you're going to nitpick and then say that the books don't matter, Disney clearly says, read the books. That's why they're put out there. That's why they're put out there in between the movies. That's why they're there. So, don't claim that that the books don't matter. Disney's like, hey, if you want to pay attention to the details, we have the books here. If you want to nitpick and not read the books, well then you're just a hypocrite. You didn't tell me enough. It's right here. What do you mean we didn't tell you enough? Huh? I'm sorry. Don't nitpick if you haven't read the books. They explain a lot. And again, J.J. Abrams. Revan has been confirmed. Revan's the one who teaches this. Duh. Why do you think he confirmed him if this wasn't his plan? So I'm going to teach you all from a book you probably haven't read, which I will say it is worth a read. Go pick it up at a bookstore, order it, whatever you need. And I have written down every reference to immortality. Notice how many references there are. How many page numbers? How many references do you need? Seriously. Anyway, I'm gonna start on this, and I'll tell you page numbers and tell you where to go. Go right on ahead. I'll gladly be like, if you buy this book, you'll know I'm not lying in even the slightest way. Go ahead, get the book yourself, read it. I'm not lying. Okay. It starts out pretty mild. On page 7, the excerpts from the Journal of Darth Plagueis kept during the Great Galactic War, which, Great Galactic War, since Revan was already confirmed, Revan was part of that. So, Revan, tie-in. Some 36 centuries ago are a prime example of how a wounded warrior can be sustained by rage. There's one way. There you go. Simple sentence. There you go. Page 8. Manipulation of life. Okay. The stories of the previous authors ended, but my reign is just beginning. By melding the core truths of the dark side found in these texts, I have set forth the Book of Anger, the weakness of inferiors, and the manipulation of life. Huh. Wonder what he means by that. Oh, don't worry. We'll get there. Right now, we're just doing the single sentence quotes. Later on, we'll get to whole page. Okay, page 10, Kingdom of the Sith. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. Our punishment for high treason was to be banished into uncharted space. But our flight into the unknown was not without direction. For years, I extracted information from the refugees and catalogued rumors, searching for proof that the Kingdom of Sith existed. My beliefs have been vindicated. What lies before us is a limited pool of steadfast warriors and untapped wealth of knowledge about the dark side of the Force. Okay. They said uncharted space. Korriban or Moraban, you might be saying. Oh, that's the Kingdom of the Sith. That's not in uncharted space. It's not in uncharted space at all. Yeah, go ahead, check. Yoda goes there in the Clone Wars. It's not uncharted. So, they're in uncharted space and found a Kingdom of the Sith. Wonder what Exegol is. Huh. Not like this was planned or anything. I love this. That's like, read the books. Tells you everything. Okay. Page 40 and 41. Sith alchemy. What I said he used to disguise his looks. Because people had said, well, how does the Emperor age when lightning hits him? He doesn't age. He was using Sith alchemy to disguise his face like a mask, to make himself look better. Under it all, he always looked that horrid look. It's just that when he was hit and it melted away, he just said, "Oh, I've been scarred by the attack." Definitely. Sith alchemy. I will explain. Yes, I'm on the right page. This is a full page one. Or a full 2 pages, actually. Sith alchemy. None of these creatures arise from nature. They are bred for their extreme forms. Breeding has limits, however. It takes generations, whereas alchemy is immediate and forever. Through alchemy, one uses the Force to effect change on the physical. I was the greatest of the Master's summoners, who fought in the 100-Year Darkness. My inspirations came to me in rumors and dreams, and only now, in the minaret of Ziost, do I realize it was the call of the Sith all along. Sith alchemists have had ages to perfect their art, and their knowledge is now mine. Sith alchemy is applied to both the living and the non-living. Each is a distinct disciple of study, with the latter being better suited for new apprentices. Alchemy on the non-living is far simpler because there are no living cells to resist you. The science is used to create amulets and enchant weapons, or enhance weapons. An object touched with alchemical science will become force-sensitive itself, forever retaining a mirror imprint of its forger. Now, what if, with how the saber calls to those of lineage or those of good, if we are assuming that Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, is truly a split soul, and Anakin was delving into the dark side a bit, what if he accidentally used Sith alchemy on his lightsaber to make it call to Rey, or to make it call to anyone of good? Huh. Now, that one is a loose one. Don't worry. I'm not going to be like, oh, that's definite fact, blah, blah, blah. No. That's a loose guess. Just if you want to be like, how did it call to Rey? How did it go to her? Sith alchemy, enchantments. Could be a thing. Now, alchemy on the living is suited only for masters. The subject's own force energy will fight you as you twist and shape the host. By recasting the shape again and again, you will get a Leviathan. Now, it doesn't explain exactly what a Leviathan is. Doesn't say if it's a creature, doesn't say if it's like a force problem. Doesn't exactly say what a Leviathan is. It just says that sometimes they can be sleeping and can be found, which is kind of worrisome. But whatever it is, uh-oh. I doubt that it's a big creature, because later on you find out that actually Sidious has been using this quite a lot, and over. And so, whatever Leviathan is, either he killed it, or I don't know. Maybe the beast from the Clone Wars, the Xeno beast or whatever, with the long tentacle arms or whatever with the green eyes. Maybe that's a Leviathan that was accidentally created. Who knows? It might be just a sleeping creature that was there, like, as it's explained in the story, but who knows? Okay. 43. Reanimate the dead. This one is me trying to explain all of the crew that he had for the Star Destroyers. Which means, technically, you could say that, oh, he was just using the Force to control the Star Destroyers. But in the visual dictionary, which I have not read much of, I just know a few bits and pieces, of the visual dictionary, it does say that it had a crew of a great many. So to explain that bit, where did he get a crew? I already said that he can use Sith alchemy to just create the ships if he wants. Since he has the power of 10,000 Sith at his disposal, he can just... There's your Star Destroyers. Want more? There you go. Again, he's 10,000 Sith in one. I think he can do it. But you can also use Sith incantations to reanimate the dead. And Exegol, home of the Sith. If it's home of the Sith, and it is so barren, you have to expect that a war has happened here at some point, or a battle. And since it was the home of the Sith, in the Empire's greatest reign, there would have been thousands, if not millions of Sith there. Reanimate Dead is a spell on page 43. This complex spell animates both the freshly dead and the skeletons of the carrion fields, transforming them into an unstoppable legion impervious to pain and able to transmit a necromancy infection by biting. Literal zombies! Yes, there were zombies in Star Wars. Thank God nobody went inside those Star Destroyers. God. I'm just like, zombie crew. I would have taken pleasure in meeting with Dathka Grausch, who died decades before our arrival. Though he is gone, it is he who melded alchemy and spellcasting to perfect necromancy. So, that's how he can create a crew. There's also a spell here to summon a demon. And since he's 10,000 Sith, he could just have demons crewing those Star Destroyers. We never see the crew on the inside of those Star Destroyers. We only see the characters that came in from the path that they were shown, like the First Order. We don't see who was brought up to crew those other Star Destroyers. It can be whatever you want it to be. Maybe the visual dictionary says, no, it's this certain thing. Again, I haven't read that much into it. But wouldn't it be awesome if it was zombies or demons that crewed those ships? Oh my god. Now then, ooh, this is going to be a lovely one. 47 and 48. The Prophecy of the Sith Awry. For those of you out there who are saying, oh, Palpatine's return undermines Anakin's prophecy, did you know that there was another prophecy since the beginning made to counter Anakin's prophecy? Guess what exactly happens in the Disney series? It follows this prophecy. Seriously. So don't say, oh, Anakin's prophecy is undermined. It was already planned from the beginning. They just never tell that prophecy in the movies. So, The Prophecy of Sith Awry. I know the Jedi myth of Mortis, of a chosen one who will destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force. The Sith have their own prophecy. Since the time of King Adus, they have foretold the coming of a perfect being, the Sith Awry. Perfect being, maybe 10,000 Sith in one body? Oh, I don't know. The avatar around my neck translates the term as Overlord, yet it is more accurate to consider the Sith Awry a god, as the Sith purebloods believe. While some among the Kasai priests deem that the prophecy began and ended with Adus, many more await the Sith Awry's return. It has not escaped us that we could claim the Sith Awry mantle and exert even more power over Sith space. Yet such a move could backfire among the superstitious. Not even Agenta Paul is so careless. The prophecy of Sith Awry has been passed through verbal tradition. It is too sacred to be inscribed on a scroll's parchment. For the Kasai, I have learned its essence. The Sith Awry will be free of limits, meaning, since the Emperor is the Sith Awry, don't question anything he does. He's free of limits. And this book has been around way before, for a long time. So this was foretold a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. The Sith Awry will lead the Sith and destroy them. He led him and Vader and the Inquisitors. They all got destroyed. The Sith Arai will raise the Sith from death and make them stronger than before. What have I said is probably what happened in the movie. That is literally the prophecy of the Sith. That one will bring the Sith and lead them, and then accidentally destroy them all, and then return again, bringing them stronger than ever, bringing them back from death. Ahem. I'm sorry, but what? Sorry, but this was hinted at a long time ago. So yeah, that is the prophecy of the Sith. The Sith Arai will be free of limits. The Sith Arai will lead the Sith and destroy them. The Sith Arai will raise the Sith from death and make them stronger than before. Ugh. Okay, so 67, power passed down. Page 67. Okay. Okay, I wrote down the wrong page number. It's 66. Whoops. But the diagram's on 67, so there you go. Now, Bane says, the Force is not fire. It cannot be passed from one user's lit torch to another's and another's. And then Luke says, Bane was wrong. The Force is fire. When the Emperor held power, the Jedi were nearly extinguished and the galaxy suffered. I have worked to restore the Jedi Order, and we grow stronger as we pass the flame. Our light spreads. Which means you can pass down power. And it even says, in the Emperor's own words, Bane's power has been passed down for 1,000 years. I vow to be its last recipient. Huh. Wonder why he was so powerful. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 94. Drain life. Oh, yeah. And the Emperor took particular interest in this little entry. He circled it and wrote a fair bit about it. Okay. Drain life. A delicate procedure that saps life energy of another and funnels it directly into your own essence. It is extremely difficult to employ in combat and is derived from the teachings of Zelashale, the blasphemer in the holocron of Darth Revan. Huh. Remember when he drains life from Kylo and Rey? I wonder where he learned that little trick. Huh. And then he circles it and says, the galaxy is choked with beings. Billions die every instant. It is better to make use of this resource. At my retreat on Biss, the life force of its colonists supplied an energy pool to sustain my dark side experiments. Huh, what does it say right there? Huh, I really wonder. Okay. On the same page, Memory Walk. Now, I'm not saying that the Emperor used this ability. I'm saying that Leia did. Memory Walk. A link that can Open your enemy's mind and make it possible for you to compel them to relive tragic or humiliating recollections and bring forth layers of shame. Used for sustained periods, memory walk can be a sophisticated method of interrogation. The technique was stolen from the Guild of Vindicators, whose denizens are zealous about uncovering the sins of others. Huh. What was a memory that came up immediately after she used the Force to enter his mind? Huh. It was Han. And no, people are saying, oh, it was a Force ghost. No. Han was not a Force ghost. That's not what happened. They clearly say it's a memory. Listen to the movie before you critique it. So yeah. So she can bring up tragic or humiliating recollections. Han's death. He relives that memory after she uses the Force on him. Huh. It's clearly said right here that that's a power. So, sorry. But that's how that works. It checks out. Okay. Oh, the next one's quite a ways on. 129 to 135. This is tons of pages. Well, not tons if you're into reading books, but tons for a quick YouTube video. So, if you don't want to listen to this whole thing, you can just understand the title of it, The Science of Creating Life. Yeah. It's literally written in here. So, Palpatine could have just, raised a crew. For all those ships, just done. There you go. So, Oh, Lord, this is going to be a bit of reading. What is the Force? The Jedi say it is created by life, but I say the Force creates life. It is a simple deduction, an obvious conclusion when supported by structured experimentation. Yet consider this. The galaxy's leading scientific minds are largely ignorant of the Force, and the galaxy's most skilled Force users reject science. The latter are caught up in romantic mysticism, convinced they have been called by a higher power. The former have no excuse. Thus, I will be the first to pursue this line of inquiry. A scientific understanding of the Force is not the same as a memorization of incantations. Science seeks to understand the principle behind a reaction, not merely how to replicate it, particularly when the formulas for the reactions are bloated with centuries of emptied ornamentation. To study alchemy, one must strip away its rhyming phrases and its perverse obsession with blood sacrifice. To study a shamanistic talisman, one must look beyond the words of invocation. When a talisman unleashes its power, what is the true trigger? The words? The speaker's tone? His mental state? If a talisman's power resides inside the gem, what will happen if a fragment is shaved off? Then another. Does the energy dissipate when sufficient mass is lost? Is the ratio consistent for similar gems and similar talismans? The Sith of old never asked these questions, for tradition and obedience extinguish their spark of curiosity. And these questions are much more than idle speculation. My science will remove everything superfluous. In this way, the true nature of the fundamental elements that the Jedi and Sith wield so casually will be revealed. So it must be that I am the first. I will change it all. The Sith wallowed in ritual, even during our centuries under the rule of two, playing dress-up in frightening costumes and posturing for our followers. I will burn away the color wrappings and study the skeletal structure that reveals the architecture of reality. My ultimate goal is the secret of life that gives us consciousness, for without consciousness, each of us is nothing. Through science, I will create new life and sustain my own. There is no reason why Darth Plagueis could not live forever. And then Sidious himself says, I do not share my former master's enthusiasm for process. I care only for results. Influencing the midichlorians. We all know what this is referencing, and if you don't, read a book. Literally, it is in the new canon comics. Yes, they say it doesn't mean what we all figured it to mean. But I'm sorry, it's not a huge leap to assume that from what was shown in that comic strip. Sorry. Influencing the midichlorians. The Force is found throughout the universe, not only in living things. Everything in existence that draws upon various aspects of the energy we call the Force may be classified into three categories. The Aparian includes and unites all matter, giving it shape and cohesion. Aspects of the Aparian include gravity and electromagnetism. Through the term encompasses everything in both space and time. Many of the abilities understood as belonging to the undying Force are tied to the Aparion. The anima gives life, but not thought, to animals, plants, and other living things. Midichlorians are responsible for including and sustaining anima in almost all species. Many of the living Force abilities are tied to the anima. The pneuma is the expression of conscious thought. Thinking, self-aware minds contribute to the collective pneuma, which is accessed by many naturally telepathic species, as well as the various mind tricks of the Jedi and the Sith. These fundamental forces would exist even without midichlorians. However, midichlorians are the beneficiaries of an unusually strong connection to all forms of physical and psychic energy. Because the midichlorians inhabit living cells, the host organism is able to draw upon this connection. Midichlorians are endosymbionts. They die when their host dies, and no host can live if completely purged of midichlorians. I'm going to skip past the side notes unless they're of the Emperor. Yikes, this is still a bit of reading. All living things, regardless of their planet of origin, appear to possess midichlorians, or contemporary biological structures. The reason for this isomorphism are unknown, but the results of the experiments into abiogenesis have shifted my present focus significantly. Of considerable interest is the fact that while most cellular organelles generate chemical energy, midichlorians generate force energy. They also appear to possess a single unified consciousness linked via the pneuma, and can be influenced by the host's mental state. In particular, negative emotions such as the loss of hope can induce cellular necrosis. That's not all of that page. I'm still going to read more. But what I'm saying is, I told you, Force powers come from emotions. It is just stated that emotions trigger the midichlorians to do things. When you have significant loss, significant anger, and all those, the emotions that the Sith draw upon, it makes you more decrepit the more you use them. Thus why the Emperor looks so fugly. So, kind of a thought to think on. Ahem. Typical blood concentration is around 2,500 midichlorians per cell. Cutting this concentration in half will usually induce death. I conclude that force energy is required for life, and that midichlorians are its biological vector. Jedi and Sith have high midichlorian counts at the moments of their birth. Breeding between two force-sensitive parents is an option, as the pairings generally result in force-sensitive offspring. On the other hand, genetic defects have been a concern since the inbreeding among the royals of Vajun during their mad chase for extraordinary powers. A simple blood transfusion is the obvious answer, but I have found that the subject's native midichlorians will reject influx of foreign cells. So, then the Emperor says, "The writings of my master betray his narrow focus. In his obsession to unlock life's secrets, he proved blind to immediate threats." Perpetual life is the next bit. "The solution, therefore, is not to induce new midichlorians, but to impose one's will on the midichlorians already present in the subject. This can be done through the energy of the pneuma. Just as a warrior in peak condition can lift a heavy weight, so can someone with a sharpened mental focus and an affinity for the Force achieve a measurable effect on living cells. I began with experiments on scurriers and other small creatures. I used my will amplified through my baby's own midichlorians to override the lesser concentrated midichlorians' voices in the test subjects. This proved more challenging than I predicted. Because midichlorians are linked by a universal mind, the ones in my own cells seem to resist this imposition upon their fellows. But eventually I succeeded. First with small creatures, then with slaves purchased from the huts. I forced the midichlorians to override their natural life cycles. What I discovered is that these midichlorians would not die. Instead, they drew upon sustaining force energy, which acted on a microscopic level to halt tissue decay in their host, putting an end to aging and disease." Sidious then says, Plagueis was indeed the first to influence the midichlorians to create life. I did not understand his work, but I am happy to take advantage of its results. My Shido scientists have grown some fascinating mutants. Oh my god. If you want to know the full studies of Darth Plagueis, here you go. Literally. Pages 129 through 135. I'm not continuing to read this. I've already read enough. He knows how to sustain life. There you go. You've heard enough. 137. Clone soul transfer. Okay. So, it shows that the mind can be transferred from one clone to another or shared between two clones consistently. Or shared from the host to a clone, so on and so forth. You can share a mind. Which both explains Kylo and Rey's thing and the Emperor here. Because I believe that the Emperor did indeed make a clone. It's already confirmed in this book he already had a clone. And in Legends, he does indeed already have a few clones. But what I believe is that he made a clone of himself. The clone came out looking like him from Revenge of the Sith, and so he swapped places with it, because the more you use the dark side, the more ugly and decrepit, the more you start to die. So, I believe he made a clone, linked their minds, put the clone in place of him since it looked better, and his dying self was put on Exegol to try to be kept alive. Their minds permanently linked, they could always think together. So, yeah, that's a thing. And while on Exegol trying to stay alive, I believe that he managed to absorb all the souls of the people that were there. That he did indeed bind himself to 10,000 Sith or whatever on Exegol. But here it says, the original body and the clone host, identical brain structure, facilitates thought transfer. Now notice that it doesn't say that without identical brain structure, you can't have thought transfer. It just says that identical brain structure helps it. It facilitates it. The Emperor then says, I am pleased my master began this work, for it is far more than an escape. The dark side ravages the flesh. I believe that I might sustain my life only by transferring it into the body of a cloned host. perfectly explained. Oh. 138, Transcending Death. Okay, I'm not going to read all these pages. There's tons about the afterlife, transcending death. It's all explained here. Just read the book. So, what Sidious says, I have studied the art of dark transfer, a technique later perfected by the Jedi Ashkaboda, whom I tortured and killed. I have ordered the production of inert clones of my body. One day I will have an inexhaustible supply of fresh forms, and the means to pass between them when the flesh proves weak. Huh. Yeah, that's a thing. Now, you're probably thinking, if he was able to just make clones, why didn't he just make another clone with a proper body? And, just keep doing it? Okay. This needs some understanding of the Emperor's mind. Yes, you can have a DNA catalyst like Jango Fett had, and just keep cloning from the catalyst. But the Emperor never trusted that. He never trusted the DNA to stay stable, and plus, he was super superstitious. Basically, he was Nick Fury levels of superstitious. He didn't want his DNA out there and just being able to be reproduced for anybody to find after his death or anything like the crystal in the vault in Battlefront 2. He was superstitious. He didn't want any of that. He even destroyed his own findings afterwards. As I said, superstitious. That's why he didn't keep the same DNA and just make another one. He thought that the first one was going to live. Which, yes, that mentality will lead to ultimate death in the end, unless you can have a soul transfer with another body. Ray. So, yeah. Oh, Lord. But yeah, just read the book. It explains everything. And if you're not going to read the book, then don't complain about the movie not explaining everything. Books. They're helpful. So I'm on 139. The next one after that is... Oh yeah, 140. Return from Death. Meaning, even if you are killed, you can come back. Okay. 140. Okay. Now, in the book, it explains about a realm called Chaos. There are two afterlives. The afterlife and Chaos. Chaos is the afterlife for Sith. Basically like heaven and hell. Now that that's been established, I read what Darth Sidious says. I wonder if my master knew the ancient Naboo legend that speaks of a realm called Chaos, blocked by a sextet of impenetrable barriers. If chaos exists, then it takes a sufficient determined mind to overcome it and return to life. Let the weak have their peace. Huh. So even if he dies, he's gonna crawl back out of that pit. It's like, nah, I'm good without death, thank you. Yeah. Even if he doesn't have a clone. He'll just be like, nah, death isn't for me, fam. Okay, 158 and 159. Immortality. Wait. Yeah, that's 50, so... Keep going. Keep going. There's more in here if you'd like to read it. Yep, 8 and 9. The manipulation of life. The manipulation of life. Written by him. It was already established he could come back. Okay. And for those of you who say, oh, he never used Sith alchemy, right here in his quote on the side it says, "Since I wrote these words, I have greatly improved the art of Sith alchemy. In light of my latest triumphs, a better title for this book would be The Creation of Monsters." So, and this explains a lot of things that are in the movies. The future of my empire is found in the mysteries of life, how to hold on to it so that my reign will never end, and how to twist it to create colossi that will do my bidding. Not even nature can stand in my way. I have mastered the dark side arts of deception, fear, and anger. But the science of darkness, represented by the writings of Sorza Sin and Darth Plagueis, is open for exploration. Amusingly, the philosophies of the two authors could not be more opposed. Both Sith Lords understood that living are not special. They are a resource to be harvested and shaped by the powerful. Through the dark side, I can make many new shapes. The alchemy developed by Sin is being perfected on Biz, where my dark side adepts join their potent skills to warp life on a broad scale. My monstrous Chrysaldes? Okay. With their magnificent mental-piercing fangs, guard the ramparts of my citadel. My mute imperial sentinels stand by my throne. Their annihilated minds and enslaved wills clear evidence the dark side can manipulate clones for any imaginative purpose. Although alchemy can create perfect beings, I have designed weaknesses into all of these creations. The flaws are minute and known only to me. It would not do for any creature to be stronger than its creator. These experiments will lead to greater things, opportunities for me to create new beings of my own design. What then will separate me from the gods of Naboo myth? The philosophy of creating monsters is applicable to the most fundamental elements of life. Darth Plagueis focused much too narrowly on midichlorians, but he was right about a great many things. The dark side consumes the physical body, just as mind became misshapen after the attempted Jedi assassination. But the mind can be preserved. Through the art of dark transfer, I will soon move myself to a younger body, cloned from my own cells. I will achieve immortality. Even if I am killed, I will return from the chaos of non-being to restored physical life. This, even my master could not achieve. I knew it was so when I halted his breathing and watched the light vanish from his eyes. He sought the secret of life, to live forever, but I took his life. I remained the ultimate Sith. Throughout the eras, the Sith foretold a being who would destroy their order and rebuild it stronger than before. I do not care about the ancient prophecies. The approval of the dead is meaningless. Yet it is clear that the Sith or I could be none other than me. The Imperial Age has begun. I have centuries to expound on my philosophies, yet all knowledge flows from the dark side writings collected here. Let these pages mark the inception of the first Book of Sith. Huh. End of book. There's much more to read in this. I just explained the stuff that explains stuff in The Rise of Skywalker. I'd say it's explained pretty darn well. Wouldn't you? Exactly. So, I'd say, to those of you saying, how did he survive? I just explained it, and if you're unwilling to read the book, don't be a hypocrite. Don't be like, oh, well, we should know everything from the movies. Disney literally advertises the books to explain a lot of things. Read the books or shut up. That's the option I give you. Okay? Because not reading the books is for the casual viewers that just go for Sunday watch or just don't really care all that much. If you care all that much, read a book. I've explained my side. I've given you all that you need to know. Everything's right there. And if you say, nah, he didn't know any of that, watch Revenge of the Sith. He hints at somebody knowing how to live beyond death. And whenever he is knighting Vader, he says only one has achieved the power to defy death. He does an eye glance away, like a poker tell, whenever he says only one has achieved. He literally is like, the power to cheat death is a power only one has achieved. Yes, I'm exaggerating it for you to see it in the video. But he literally just glances his eyes off to the right and then back like a poker tell. It's like, hello, he hinted at it for so long, he said it. Excuse me, it's right there. Don't say it wasn't established. It was. Right there. Duh. I think I've made my point clear.